Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Tulsa Historical Society and Museum Executive Director, Michelle Place.
Thank you. Good evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Michelle Place. I'm the Executive Director for the Tulsa Historical Society and Museum. On behalf of our board president, Dale Mills, who is unable to be with us tonight, it is my pleasure to welcome you to the 36th Tulsa Hall of Fame. Yeah. Tonight we gather in order to celebrate Tulsa's history. So to each of you, thank you for being here to honor and to congratulate our newest class of inductees. Our sincere gratitude is extended to our event sponsors who are listed in your program, so you can find them all then, and they're also listed on the screen. It's because of your support that we are able to fulfill our mission, which is to illuminate the past, enrich the present, and inspire the future by collecting, preserving, and presenting Tulsa's history. We have with us tonight some elected officials. We have U.S. Congressman Brad Carson, who is now the president of the University of Tulsa. Will you please welcome President Carson? Thank you. And we also have with us former Tulsa Mayor, the Honorable Kathy Taylor. Mayor Taylor, where are you? There you are. Please stand so we can recognize you. Welcome. Joining us this evening are past Tulsa Hall of Fame inductees. They were each selected based on their philanthropic, their civic, and their business leadership within our city. As I call your name, would you please rise and remain standing? And audience, if you will please hold your applause until we've been through the whole list. Ann Cleveland, 2014. Tim Colwell, who is represented tonight by his wife, Patty Colwell. Sharon King Davis, 2011. Fred Dorwart, 2015. Marge and John Gabarino, 2011. Tony Garner, 2021. Bert B. Holmes, 2014. George Crumey, 2014. Nancy McDonald, 2018. Susan Neill, 2019. Ross Swimmer, 2000. Clifton Talbert, 1996. The Honorable Kathy Taylor, 2010. And Clayton Vaughn, who is represented by his daughter, Chelsea Showalter. And Mickey Wilson, 2013. Would you please give them all a round of applause? You may be seated. Thank you. It is also with great sadness that we recognize inductees who we lost this past year. Bonnie Klein, inducted in 2017, and Julius Pegues, inducted in 2008. A number of the Tulsa Historical Society and Museum board members are here. So if all of the past and the present board members would stand so that we can recognize you. I know you're in the house. Thank you, a good number. And I would also like to recognize some of the Tulsa Historical Society volunteers who are known as the Guardians. And it was the Guardians who checked you in at your tables tonight. Would you all please stand who are with us? Thank you for the work that you do. And last but certainly not least, please greet the other staff members of the Tulsa Historical Society and Museum, and it is their professionalism that runs this institution that I get to be a part of. Will you please greet Maggie Jewell, Neill Pascoe, Luke Williams, and Brittany Worley. Would you all please stand? They're in the corner. Again, thank you to everyone for being here tonight. Please enjoy your dinner, and our program will begin immediately following dessert. Welcome.
Welcome to the 36th Annual Tulsa Hall of Fame, honoring civic and business leaders, philanthropists, educators, artists, and community volunteers, and their impact on Tulsa. Please welcome your host for this evening, author, speaker, and Tulsa Hall of Fame inductee, Clifton Talbert.
Thank you very much. Tonight we have gathered in our city to celebrate the philanthropy of heart, to celebrate leadership that lives beyond your front porch, to celebrate neighbors, to celebrate friends, to celebrate life that we live together. No one would want to live alone or be on an island by yourself. Community is important, and tonight we celebrate men and women who have given of their means, given of their heart to our city to make it a better place. I'm delighted to be your host. I promise you I won't talk long. I'll get right to the part of it. I had to do a speech for the president of BMW, and they said you got 13 minutes. I grew up in the South. 13 minutes does not exist in the South. And so I realized that when he spoke, he had 13 minutes as well, and it wasn't 14, it was really 13. So I finally came to the conclusion that being a Southerner as I am, where it takes you forever to say anything, that I couldn't use that. That would not work that particular day. So I've learned to speak in 13 minutes, 14 minutes, 15 minutes, and whatever Michelle tells me to get up there and get down from there. So I can get it done. But I'm delighted to be your host. I'm delighted to introduce you to this program this evening because we are celebrating families. We are celebrating brothers and sisters. We are celebrating individuals, Tulsans, who have given of their means, given of their heart, given of their life to make our lives better. This is what an engaged community is all about. And an engaged community will not happen without us. We have the wherewithal to make it happen. And this is very, very important. So let me take you, if you will, to a song that maybe you remember a long time ago from the Hollies. And it talks about the winding road that seemed to take you forever somewhere, ending up nowhere. But it's a road that oftentimes presents opportunities to be your better self, opportunities to help someone else. And they say in the song that I think is quite apropos for this evening, he said, he ain't heavy because he's my brother. She ain't heavy. She's my sister. At the end of the day, our humanity trumps it all. We share life that none of us purchase. We share life that none of us can give away. It's each of us have life, and we share it together. And tonight we celebrate what all of you have done in your respective ways to make Tulsa a better place in which to live. And as the Hollies said, and I quote, let me read exactly what they said, because I love that particular statement that they made here. I'll pull it out. Let's see, do I have glasses? Got my glasses. There was a time I didn't have to wear glasses, but I do now. The road is long, with a many a winding turn that leads us to who knows where. Who knows where? But I'm strong enough to carry him. He ain't heavy. He's my brother. So on we go. His welfare is of my concern. No burden is he to bear. We'll get there. And I think this is what our inductees are telling us tonight, that we'll get there. Their life, their gifts to our city will help us all to understand what is required of us. And once we understand that, it becomes very important to make it happen. So tonight, I want you to enjoy the idea of the generosity of heart of others that makes Tulsa this incredible place that we call home. Have a great evening. I'll see you at the close with another short story. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Jim Johnston.
All right, good evening, everybody. All right, more time. Good evening, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Clifton. That was the shortest 13 minutes I've ever experienced. I appreciate that. So it is my distinct honor to introduce to you a group tonight that I'm proud to call friends, family. I have known, loved, laughed, worked for, with this group for close to 30 years now. And I believe they're the first family to be inducted as a group to the Tulsa Hall of Fame. The Tulsa Historical Society's mission statement is illuminate the past, enrich the present, and inspire the future. Each of these key elements are embodied by, and I cannot think of a more deserving and appropriate trio for this honor. The McElroy family itself comes from a long line of Tulsans going back to their great-grandfather, who arrived here when it was still Indian territory. Their parents, Art and Panny McElroy, founded McElroy Manufacturing and inspired not only a work ethic, but a love of Tulsa and Oklahoma history in their 3 children. Today, these 3 are a driving force in this community with involvement in organizations like the Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, Big Brothers and Big Sisters, the United Way, the Food Bank, the Gathering Place, the Tulsa Historical Society, just to name a few. I could go on and take up the entire 13 minutes. But that is only the tip of the iceberg. And I would argue it is their actions and commitment that truly have the greatest reach. Winston Churchill was quoted as saying, "We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give." I believe that embodies the life and driving force for Chip, Donna, and Peggy, their spouses, and their families. It's not only the employees of McElroy, but also the men, women, and children of Tulsa and Northeast Oklahoma that feel the light of their giving. Their actions not only serve those who have needs, they also inspire more people to become involved and spread philanthropy throughout this great community. To paraphrase Maya Angelou, people will not remember the words you say, but they will remember how they made you feel. I feel better for being in the sphere of influence of these 3 individuals. Please help me in welcoming Chip, Donna, and Peggy to the stage.
Good evening, everybody. So the secret is now out. Peggy and I really aren't Chip's younger sisters. So I am the eldest of his younger sisters. Jim, thank you for your very kind words and your trip down memory lane. What a wonderful evening this has been for all of us. Thank you, Michelle, Maggie, the Historical Society staff, and all the Historical Society members here this evening. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever imagine receiving this unbelievable Tulsa honor. We have been so fortunate to have grown up in Tulsa and have been given the opportunity to build on our parents' dream. I couldn't have better partners than Chip and Peggy, but my thanks also to our 3 spouses, David, Dave, and Sharon, who have stood with us, worked with us for over the past 46 plus years, and we're all still very good friends. Our thanks as well to our children and our grandchildren who have supported us, have understood us, and have been patient with us as we talked shop around the family table. We're so happy that they could all be here with us this evening. Please know how much we love all of you. To the many employees who have worked with us and other Tulsa professionals who have guided us and supported us over the years, we couldn't have done it without you, and you have our deepest thanks. Thank you to everyone here tonight for making this such a special evening for me and for helping to make this memory that I will cherish forever. Thank you.
Oh my goodness, what an exciting evening this has been. and I am so honored to be part of the 2022 inductees into the Tulsa Hall of Fame. This is truly an overwhelming honor and frankly quite intimidating when I look at the other individuals that have received this reward previously. A very special thank you to the Tulsa Historical Society Board for selecting us, and an enormous salute to the other honorees for their incredible contributions to the Tulsa community. I know our parents would be smiling tonight, for they truly loved the city and the state and the opportunities that it offered to them to bring their dreams to fruition, and now for us, the next generation. We truly stand on the shoulders of our ancestors, and we celebrate their achievements and legacy tonight. And thank you for this once-in-a-lifetime honor.
Wow. You know, first off, I've had a lot of comments about the blue and gold tie, saying, you know, it's great to have the Ukrainian tie. But actually, this is a story that goes back to Jan Zink, probably 20 years ago in the Bob Lawless era, where she did a fundraiser selling these. It just so happens that both TU and Ukraine are underdogs, so we can relate with that. You know, first and foremost, I want to talk about this community we know as Tulsa and thank the Tulsa Historical Society Board for this recognition. When I think back, Donna, Peggy, and I, believe it or not, despite they're my younger sisters, are fourth-generation Tulsans. They also happen very lucky to be with the parents that raised us. But today I'm proud to say they're probably the best business partners I could ever imagine having. And then Sharon, our three kids, Mac, Andy, Julie, and their partners, Beth, and Megan, and Andrew. So thank you. I just had a brain fart there, so my apologies. But you know, from McElroy's humble beginnings in 1954, I think all three of us stand in awe of where the enterprise of McElroy Manufacturing is today. Our dad died all too young in 2008, and our mom was left to lead and shepherd this second generation of the business until her passing in 2006. I think in some way we know that they are all kind of up above, smiling down upon what we've continued to grow, expand on what they founded and built. While Donna, Peggy, and I are seen as the face of McElroy today, we're really just a small part of the larger picture. Much of what has transpired has testament to many contributions that Donna's David, Peggy's Dave, and my wife and greatest friend on earth, Sharon, have done in terms of not only their contributions to their business, to this business, but in support of us. We've got a number of our executive team here that really work with us as colleagues on a day in and day out basis. We couldn't do it without them. And then there are the contributions of almost 400 other men and women that make up Team McElroy today. And then there's the larger Tulsa community. You know, as I thought about these comments, in my 60 years on this planet, I've gotten to visit a lot of places around the earth. And a lot of those places are really cool to visit at least once. And others are great places to return and visit often. But we've not yet found any place like Tulsa and the state of Oklahoma as a place to call home and to continue to grow our future roots. So to the Tulsa Historical Society Board, thank you for this honor, and it's truly humbling. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage, Toby Jenkins.
Good evening. It's my honor tonight to be able to recognize my good friend and someone who has meant so much in my life personally, Dennis Neill. Dennis's sister is here tonight, so she can remember when he was a Boy Scout and how that set the pattern of his life. As we know, the motto for the Boy Scouts is be prepared. And so that became Dennis's lifelong goal, was to be prepared for whatever came his way, whatever fate threw his way. Early in Dennis's life, he excelled in education, academics, and started his career. But early in his life, he experienced discrimination because of his sexual orientation and how people responded to that in Tulsa back in the 70s. That motivated him to stay in Oklahoma, which was not fashionable in the 70s. It was very acceptable for people, LGBT people, to flee to the East Coast and the West Coast. And so I will tell you tonight, you're looking at a prairie gay, because there's East Coast gays and West Coast gays. And we're the prairie gays. And Dennis and John chose to stay because he believed in this place called Tulsa. And he devoted himself to serving all of Tulsa and living his life openly and being a good neighbor, a good member of his church, and being involved in this city. And he founded our organization back in the 1970s. And in the 1970s, first thing they needed to do was get a helpline so that they could help people like me and like Dennis be able to find the resources. And so they went down to the telephone company and they bought the telephone line. For you young people, in those days you could do that. And you could make it spell out something. And so they thought it was super clever. 918, the gays. 743-4297. It is still the phone number if you call the Dennis Arnell Equality Center. True story. In those early days, the Tulsa World did a story and the headline said, "Homosexuals organizing in Tulsa." This scandalous headline. And they made up this data that said there were more homosexuals in Tulsa than there were in San Francisco to scandalize it. But Dennis and his friends stayed the course. And so in my mind, Dennis is the man that changed the heart of this city. Today, the Dennis Arnell Equality Center sits on Pride Street, and 60,000 people a year come through there for the resources all over the state and all over this heartland region. Dennis chose to stay and be prepared to be ready for whatever happened. And shortly after you founded the organization, the AIDS crisis, the AIDS epidemic hit us. And over the years, we have had to think creatively, and Dennis has made sure that we never forgot we're a part of Tulsa. And it's an honor tonight to have Mayor Kathy Taylor, and she probably remembers when I called her back in that summer when the temperatures were 110 degrees, and I said, Dennis Neill is concerned about our citizens who don't have adequate air conditioning, and we would like to open up the Equality Center as a cooling station. And she said, Toby, well, we don't have any money for that. And I said, Dennis says not to worry about it. We'll make sure we have bottled water for our citizens and air conditioning. Because he has never, ever taken his heart off of Tulsa. His mother-in-law can tell you. Now listen, if your mother-in-law thinks you're grand, you are grand, right? His mother-in-law told me, she said, he deserves to be recognized as a distinguished citizen, and so she was able to get the Queen of England to give him a lordship. So this is Lord Dennis Neill, did it for his 70th birthday. True story, am I telling you the truth, Betty Southard? The white line, she's sitting right up here. But if your mother-in-law believes in you, you know you must be doing something right. Now, to leave you with this story. Originally, when our organization was founded, and we had that helpline. Oral Roberts University students would call that line and keep it busy so people could not call through to get through. They believed that Jesus believed that they would keep that line blocked. People couldn't get through to that line. I'm happy to tell you how incredible Tulsa is, how this man has changed the heart of Tulsa. Today, there are Oral Roberts University social working students who are doing their internships at the Dennis Arnell Equality Center, working that helpline. Dennis Neill, the man who changed a city.
Wow. Toby, would you just do my speech for me? Mine won't be near as humorous. And I must say, Kathy, how old was I when you tried to drown me in the bathtub? 2 or 3. So my sister has a dark side, I must say. But I survived, thank goodness. And I'm certainly overwhelmed with gratitude for this recognition. Many, many thanks to the society, you, the attendees, family, friends. It is such an honor to join the membership of past and current inductees who have contributed so much to our communities. Toby, I very much appreciate your participation tonight and your years of service to Oklahomans for Equality and the community at large. Your leadership has been so vital to so many, and you have saved lives with your work. And John, thank you for your support and encouragement over these 34 years that we've been together. I've been so lucky over these years to have so many who have encouraged me and on occasion protected me so that I might be of service to others. To note but a few, Lynn Moore and the other fellow lawyers at Connor and Winters allowed me to take on controversial cases with the American Civil Liberties Union and supported me when some disagreed with my involvement. In the early 1980s, when I had the great fortune to join the Schusterman family in their oil and gas business, Lynn and Charles Schusterman strongly rejected the call by some, both within our company and outside, that I should be dismissed from the company for coming out gay and co-founding what is now Oklahomans for Equality. And Mrs. Schusterman has gone on to be a worldwide leader for the LGBTQ community throughout the Jewish community. And my very deep appreciation to Stacy Schusterman for providing that inclusive work environment along with our early adoption of domestic partner benefits. Joan Flint, Janice Nicholas, the Tulsa Area United Way, and the Community Service Council, who stepped forward in the mid-1980s despite public misunderstanding and fears. They helped our organization and other community members to address the growing threat of HIV and AIDS. And thanks to Tamara Raines, Jim Walker, and Sharon Terry, who guided me as a board member and president of Youth Services of Tulsa, and Becky Frank, who encouraged me to join the boards of the United Way and the Chamber of Commerce. And my deep appreciation to the many members at All Souls Unitarian Church who for more than 40 years have provided support and encouragement. And the staff and fellow board members at the Oklahoma Center for Community and Justice, which exposed me to the important social justice centers we must tackle. And many, many thanks to Nancy McDonald, who I refer to as my lifetime mentor for her unwavering support and guidance. There are many others who have helped to provide a path for my civic involvement, and may we all be so blessed to have champions like these in our lives to inspire us in aiding the next generation to be of service. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Becky Frank.
Good evening, everyone, and no, I'm not Becky Frank. I'm not busting into this party. I'm David Wagner, one of the partners at Schnocke Turnbo Frank. I'm standing in for Becky Frank tonight, as unfortunately she's unable to be here, or her husband tested positive for COVID late last week. But it's my honor and privilege to speak about Steve Turnbo from both a professional and a personal standpoint. Professionally, he is Mr. Tulsa, with a love that runs deep for all things Tulsa. Steve is a connector with a passion to bring people together, to work together for the greater good of all. Steve is known for his integrity and compassion, coupled with a generous heart for service and a strong work ethic, which has served as an example for all who have known and worked with him. Steve has never been afraid to tackle a crisis. He would sit down with a client in need, get out his pen and paper, jot down notes, and proceed to give the highly sought strategy and PR counsel he has consistently given to many over decades. And Steve has always been proud of the work of his firm. I will always remember the time that I was driving with him, and he pulled up to a stoplight, looked to his left, saw a former client, motioned for that individual to turn down his window, and called to him and said, "Give me a call. We haven't done work for you some time." He was always, as he would say, throwing his route. His commitment to the community with service on countless boards, committees, fundraisers, and in leadership positions over the decades has served as an example to so many who desire to reach that high bar of service. Steve showed a strong commitment to fighting bias, bigotry, and racism with his early engagement with NCCJ, now OCCJ. He continues to champion those causes today. His bow ties were and still are a signature look, except he messed with me tonight and wore his bolo tie. But you know you don't change your notes, though, do you? Personally, anyone who knew Steve at all would know of his deep, abiding love for Norma. Norma was his rock. And after Norma and his love for his family was his love for TU, his dogs, baseball. His stories can cover the gamut of topics that can bring laughter and they can bring tears to your eyes. Steve's love for Norma and TU is best told through a story from their chamber trip to Hawaii. It was 11 a.m. on a morning, and Steve and Norma were out for a morning walk. Steve saw a tattoo parlor and asked if they could do a tattoo on a TU tattoo on his arm that matched his ring. Norma told Steve that if he was getting a TU tattoo on one arm, she wanted her name on the other. He readily agreed, and reportedly no alcohol was involved in that decision. My personal story goes back to 2007. When I was working at Oral Roberts University, I remember a passing comment that I made to my wife that someday I want to meet this Steve Turnbo, who I had heard so much about in the PR arena. Little did I know that later in 2007, I would have the opportunity to not only meet, but to work with Steve. When in the fall of 2007, we needed some pretty heavy PR counsel and support at ORU. Then President Richard Roberts asked me who I thought was the best PR firm in Tulsa. I replied, Schnocke Turnbo Frank, though I had never met anyone from that firm, but I had heard so much about them throughout the community. We hired STF. I'll never forget the mental image I have of Steve sitting at my desk, at my computer, in the same office that Oral once sat, and working away at countless press releases for ORU, all the while delivering his valuable PR counsel. And yes, he was wearing his bow tie. That Christmas, I received a bow tie from Steve and Becky, and I'm wearing that bow tie tonight in his honor. I proudly wear it in his honor. Steve, speaking for all of us at Schnocke Turnbo Frank, we love and respect you for who you are, and we are so proud of you for this recognition. To the selection committee of the Tulsa Historical Society and Museum, thank you. Our sincere appreciation to you for recognizing Steve with this most fitting and prestigious honor for which he is most deserving, the Tulsa Historical Society Hall of Fame. Please join me in congratulating Steve Turnbo.
Well, David, thank you for that very gracious introduction. You're a rare individual and somebody I admire very, very much. When I was informed about this honor several months ago, I was surprised and humbled. It's a privilege to be here with such a group of wonderful citizens. The McElroy family has a remarkable record of community support, and I applaud the McElroys for all they've done to make this a better city. And watching Dennis Neill's leadership over the years is inspirational and something I admire very, very much. And Eva Unterman, you are my hero. While I have known about you for many, many years, I've really not gotten to know you better, and I hope to do so. Your journey is legend. This past year has been difficult. I lost the love of my life, Norma, after 42 years. Tonight, I'm proud that my two daughters, Jana and Nancy, are here to be with me, and it means the world to me. I have an incredible nephew that lives here in Tulsa, Chris, and that's the only family I have in Tulsa. I had the pleasure of attending the University of Tulsa on a baseball scholarship and majoring in communications. While a student, I became familiar with a poem penned by William Wordsworth entitled Ode on Intimations of Immortality. Some lines that I cherish very much. Though nothing can bring back the hour of splendor in the grass, of glory in the flower, we will grieve not, rather find strength in what remains behind. Because of Norma and other wonderful people, I have a lot to be thankful for. I've led a good life, and I love this city, I love this community, and I'm very honored. Thank you, Historical Society. Godspeed to everybody in this room. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Alice Blue.
I am one of those people who can never say no to Eva Unterman. Eva's ideas are a storm of motivation. The wind hits you, and suddenly you're with her. When Eva has an idea, you become inspired. Suddenly you're moving, and there's no turning back. Good luck keeping up with the force of her energy. Deep, deep in her 80s, she can outrun us all. And she's been doing this for a very long time. Eva's public work in Tulsa began in 1978. She had already been the director of a preschool. She was a mainstay salesperson at Tulsa's Brooks Brothers, but she got a call from a public school teacher asking her to speak about her own experiences, asking her to talk about surviving the Holocaust. Immediately, she knew a central truth. A one-woman effort is never enough. Something as important as good and evil, something as significant as the genocide of a people, needs a united effort, a team of educators to reach adults and kids, to reach our whole community. That's the difference between Eva and the rest of us. Small beginnings give way to crucial conversations, vital alliances, and then the grand-scale project. And that's exactly what happened. First in line was an ad hoc committee made up of teachers like Ruth Ann Cooper of blessed memory and oral historians like Michelle Weens. There were other survivors and children of survivors who began reaching out to tell their own stories and to speak about the dangers of unchecked prejudice. From the beginning, the purpose was consistent: to stand up against scapegoating and dehumanization. This small group soon grew into a committee, and at that point, its success was assured. Housed at our local Jewish community center, the group included people like me, along with professors and teachers like Nancy Pettis, and so many others who are here today from our local schools, public and private, city and suburban. Eva would want me to underscore the obvious: if you want a job done, ask a teacher. We did a lot in the first 20 years, but by the middle of the 1990s, we had hit our stride. Massive gatherings featuring world-famous scholars: Sir Martin Gilbert, William Donat, Father Patrick Dubois, and Michael Berenbaum, just to name a few. The only person that attracted a greater audience was Eva herself in 2015. That was the year she told the story of her experience. But what I want to underscore, that was never all of it. Eva Unterman has a genius for complexity. Storytelling is good, but let's add movies and artwork. Let's establish a partnership with the city, county library and Circle Cinema. Let's raise the funds for next level study so that Tulsa teachers can get to the Holocaust Museum in DC and visit Poland and visit Israel. And if we're doing our job connecting the story of the Shoah to other acts of genocide, to episodes of cruelty that need the same kind of attention as the war against the Jews. How do we know that Eva was right? When an 8th grade student from Kiefer, Oklahoma, wrote in her article, and I quote, "I hope those who read my essay will realize the importance of standing up against injustices occurring throughout the world." I know when I started, I would not be able to finish. Eva's story is too big for a summary, too rich and complicated for a simple retelling. Her commitments go beyond what I've been able to describe, to fighting discrimination in all of its forms. She is wholeheartedly involved with the work of environmental activism and embraces a politics of sanity and truth. She is not done with Tulsa, and her work continues, because the arc of justice needs Eva's energy and passion. Along with you, I salute her efforts and ask you to help me acknowledge her achievements.
Thank you for your kind and generous introduction. Tulsa is my adopted hometown. I have lived here for over 60 years, and one of my favorite places to visit is the Historical Society. By the way, in case you hear an accent, don't let it fool you. I am an Okie at this point. I love all the exhibits that are shown at the Historical Society. Vintage cars on the first floor, vintage ladies' hats on the second floor. I am deeply grateful to the Tulsa Historical Society for inducting me into the Hall of Fame. It gives me great pleasure to share this important award with some of my friends, Tulsa Holocaust teachers. A few of them are here this evening. Please stand. In every concentration camp that I have been imprisoned by the Nazis, the same plea was heard over and over again. Whoever survives, do not forget us. Remember, vergiss nicht, remember us. These words have been imprinted on my mind and heart for over 77 years. It is my moral obligation to teach the lessons of the Shoah and to hope for a better future for all our young people, the next generation. I am deeply grateful to everyone for being here this evening, and I would like to say thank you to Michelle, David, Steve, and Ellen, my family, for coming to Tulsa and joining me here. Thank you all very, very much, everybody, for being here. It's a wonderful event, and I shall remember it forever. Thank you. Shalom.
May I thank all of you for giving us a sense of story. Because stories are to humanity what blood is to the veins. When we know each other's story, we better understand our own, and we have a greater sense of our humanity. Thank all of you for sharing your stories, giving Tulsa part of your lives for who you are and what you've done, and what we have the opportunity to do as well. The stories must always be told, and there must always be those of us who will do what is necessary to not forget those who may have been left behind. I want to take you to the 6th century, a time not unlike ours today. Intellectual fervor was pretty strong. Political upheaval was happening as well. Militarism was a way of life. But even in the midst of all of that, there were great voices calling us to action, as they have always been. There was one theologian who lived in North Africa. His name was St. Augustine. And he was so appropriate for his times and appropriate for ours. I would like to share with you 3 lines that meant so much to me and hopefully will mean much to you as well. For where you are pleased with yourself, there you have remained. Keep adding, keep walking, keep advancing. He's asking us to understand our humanity and the capabilities that we have, what we can accomplish, what we can do. Never to become satisfied because we have arrived at a certain place, but to realize that that's the opportunity to move further and to do more. For all of you that have been inducted, it is my honor to have my name alongside yours, have all of these stories mingled together in an incredible soup of life, that we can all get our ladle, all get our bowl, and eat of the life of each other. At the end of the day, this is what we're talking about. Let me read a little bit, not a lot. I'm still under the 13-minute rule. From a book I wrote called 8 Habits of the Heart. When I wrote the book, I had no idea what it would accomplish around the world. But Sandra Day O'Connor, our former jurist, first female jurist of the United States Supreme Court, had read the book and asked me to come to Washington, D.C. and speak to the court and 150 of their guests. And what she said was this, as she introduced me: no one accomplishes anything by himself or herself. And to all of us tonight, none of you, myself included, have accomplished anything by ourselves. Our lives exist because other lives exist alongside of us. And this is what I said in the book that bears witness to what Justice O'Connor said. The habits cannot be passed along like a collection of footballs. What we are passing along are the strengths of our lives, which we embrace and make clear through daily living. What we are passing along are the strengths of our lives, which we embrace and make clear through daily living. It is the daily living of humanity that makes it clear as to who we are, what we can accomplish, and what we can leave the world. Today, we have relatives, we have friends, we have people we don't even know in Florida, the East Coast, without the pleasure of candle lights, china, good wine, and wonderful company. Let's not forget them. They are our friends, they're our family. They are part of us. I have lived a long life. I've seen more than I ever thought I would ever see. The dreams do come true. They do. My wife, my son, the joy of my life, and all of you that have brought joy to all of us. Those who are inducted are leaving us clear maps. And as the Hollies said so many years ago in England, I know you're busy. I know that. But we're not going to have 2810. We're just going to have 24/7. And in 24/7, we can change the world. And they have said, yes, you'll have to bear burdens that really can weigh you down. But our friends, our families, and our neighbors are worth it. Why? Because he ain't heavy. He's my brother. Have a good evening, a great life, and see you next year.